Hi, it's Phil and welcome to my channel. Today we're looking at the 2017 new issue of Rolex that divided the fans and collectors alike. This is a Sea Dweller reference 126600, 50th anniversary. I don't think there's anything special that makes this watch kind of unique. It's just that the Rolex are artificially creating a demand in sports and diver watches right now, and they're really hard to get. So let me just take these tags off so we can play around with it. Right. I mean, the problem is that you can certainly get it if you're looking to pay over retail. But you have to be on the waiting list in the Rolex shop to get it in the first place. This watch is really for people who want a large watch but do not want to deal with Deepsea or Yachtmaster 2 for size. In theory, a 44mm watch like a Deepsea or Yachtmaster may sound good, but they're also quite thick. So you're pretty much forced to wear it on the weekend, as you can't get it under your cuff on the shirt. I mean, my wrist is 7.5 inches around, and it's perfect for me. You can see how it kind of hugs the wrist, and it sits really low. It's because of the profile of the lugs, it kind of tapers down. There were some concerns that because this is an anniversary edition, that Rolex will remove the red writing of Sea Dweller on the dial. But I'm not sure how true those rumors are. I mean, Rolex are pretty smart at keeping quiet and let the rumors do its bidding and raise the prices of their watches. I mean, if they do decide to follow what we're thinking that they do, which is remove the red writing, these particular models will just skyrocket in price. I mean, the Sea Dweller was born in the 1960s when Rolex issued watches reference 1665, which is developed in collaboration with Comex, US Navy, and NASA. At that time, Rolex was just giving away Rolex watches to get the data so they can build their new model. One of the new issues that they had was a double red, issued with a 2,000 feet depth rating, without the cyclops and with the dome crystal. That particular model was produced for about 10 years until 1977, and there were 4 different variations and 3 different case combinations. The most valuable of them was the Dial Mark I and a patent pending case back that sold recently for about $100,000. The second version of this was Mark II and have a different look to it. It was more chocolate and brown finish, to be honest. Those become more popular due to the fashion sense of the people who are buying it. There are a few reasons why these watches were really valuable. They were developed in collaboration with many companies like Comex, US Navy, and NASA. They were pretty much indestructible. They were one of the few watches that were authentic but had engraving in the back, and they had many different variations of dial. A lot of people hate the cyclops on this watch. I happen to be one of them. I think the cyclops looks really small compared to the size of the watch, and it belongs in a Submariner or Datejust, to be honest. The purists in me want the Sea Dweller to be without cyclops, just like the older previous Sea Dweller watches. I mean, the reason why the original Sea Dweller didn't have the cyclops is because it was not possible to put the watch with that depth rating, so the cyclops didn't pop off with decompression. In the 1980s, the original Sapphire Rolex came out. They put it on it because they just didn't think they maybe needed. It's only now that technology changed so much that they're actually able to use cyclops on watches that is ready to that depth. This watch feels chunky. The bracelet is heavier and thicker compared to the Deepsea. As you can see, the Oyster bracelet has little gaps in between to aerate on the hot weather. Also, the side links are polished to give it an extra accent, so this part. Inside the clasp there's a glide lock where you have 20 millimeters of adjustment available, and there's also this extension. Altogether gives you about 2 inches worth of freedom. The Cerachrome bezel is really nice, although I think they just took it from Deepsea without actually resizing it. One thing I noticed that the teeth are very, very sharp, but it rotates very nicely. It has a very good satisfying click, and there's absolutely no play in it whatsoever. The case is made with a 904L steel, which is a Rolex own alloy, which they stamped out and not drill out, which makes which basically means that all their parts made in Switzerland. They make everything. The one thing that I've noticed that kind of weirded me out is if you look on the back, the cap on the case back is it's actually used smaller. I think they just used the cap from the Sea Dweller 4000 on this oversized case, which means that there is a big gap between the back cover and the watch side. This watch is using a caliber 3235 with all the current innovations that warranted about 14 new patents. The power reserve is 70 hours. That means that if you take it off on Friday, it will be still working on Monday. Rolex makes all these components in their factory. The modern diver Rolex uses triple lock crown, which is basically a series of 3 gaskets to stop water coming in. So you can see there is one rubber ring here, and there's actually 2 inside there. So it acts like a protection. I mean, it operates just like you would expect from Rolex. It feels really well made and will run for many years. Rolex are so confident with their new mechanism that they extended the service interval for their watches. It's now 10 years, not 5. It just feels like a bigger Submariner. This watch is 15.2 millimeters thick, which is more than 2 millimeters thinner than the Deepsea, but it doesn't feel that much bigger than the Sea Dweller 4000. And like I said, this is probably because the way that the lugs are tapering down. Rolex has extremely good quality control. If you think about how many watches they make per year, it's kind of amazing. When Patek or Audemars Piguet release a few thousand per year, Rolex probably makes about over 200,000 per year. So it is definitely a mass-produced item, but because it's so well made and so well designed, they keep their value. They hold their value because they're so precise. I don't know how I feel about this watch just yet. I'm still in love with my Deepsea, but it's definitely starting to grow on me. So thanks for watching. This is Phil. Hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe and ask me any questions that you want, and see you shortly with a new watch.